Right of reply time. On yesterday's show, we said this. So Peters points out a truth, but it's his truth as well. It's his fault as well. If he wanted the military in earlier, if he was worried about the border, if he felt this hadn't gone the way it should have, at all points it was up to him to make it clear, was it not? To argue his case, to bring it to our attention, to make sure that it went a better way than clearly it has, given the way it's gone isn't what it should have been. So now it's too late. Why? Because he's telling us all this for his own political survival. So the inference is you can't, if you selected the government come election time, then go and say they gilded the lily, his words not mine, on COVID, when it was you doing the gilding. So Winston, of course, is a slavish listener to this program, and he didn't like what he heard, and he's with us. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I thought it was a pretty solid piece. You don't clearly agree.
No, it was a cheap shot. You're wrong. And the reality is, if you want to win an argument, you win inside the room. You don't go outside and do some sort of public broadcasting or megaphone diplomacy and hope that somehow that's successful. You know that. You've been in an organisation long enough to know that if you want to win, you've got to win inside. But there's no harm in telling people the truth about the various arguments that went on.
But you're telling them the truth retrospectively, and you didn't tell us the truth at the time when it was a calamity, is my point.
Well, I told the people who should have known the truth. I told them that 2 days before we went into the lockdown in the first place, that the military had to be involved. I got witnesses to what I'm saying, and I said way back on the 19th of March that you've got to bring in people like Heather Simpson and have an oversight over the bureaucracy to make these things work. I said way back then we need to have masks. Why? Because Taiwan is the most successful economy in terms of handling COVID-19, bar none. They've got 24 million people. They've had under 500 cases. They've had under 8 deaths. These are facts, and I don't, how shall I put it, want you going on your show making a cheap shot when common sense and realism is what we've been presenting in this environment and for a long, long time.
Well, the problem is when you go to an election, they're facts and silence, aren't they? Because I think I asked you at least once, why didn't you, if it was so serious to you and so important to you and things were going so awry for you, why didn't you go public and say, look, as much as this aggrieves me, this lot aren't listening to me, I think we're making a mistake and we've got to do something about it and bring it to our attention?
But you don't shake someone's hand and give a commitment to keep a coalition going for 3 years, which we did, all the way to the 6th of August when the House rose. You don't shake your hand, take somebody's hand and break your word. And I never have. And you can ask Helen Clark that. You can ask Jim Bolger that.
Well, you're paying the price for it now, though, aren't you?
No, I'm not paying the price now. What I'm paying for the price for is flippant people who make comments like you did.
But my comments are accurate, though. My comments are accurate. There's nothing inaccurate about what I said. You were part of this mess. If you argue it's a mess, you're part of it.
No, Mike, you had your chance yesterday. I thought this was the right of reply, not you trying to defend the indefensible. The reality is, it's like playing for a team. You don't go out and tell the whole country what's wrong with your team strategy.
Well, you do. You do.
Oh, can I finish off?
All right.
Can I just please finish off? No, you don't do that. What you do is you hope that next time the team gets to play a better game. That's how we make progress.
Winston, this is COVID. There isn't a next time, for God's sake. This is the biggest crisis this country's ever met. You're inside telling us it's a cock-up, but you wouldn't tell us on the outside because you want to be a team player.
Well, because we couldn't make any progress. I'm not trying to excuse myself or anybody else. I'm just putting out in front of you the record which no one from the Prime Minister to every other minister in that cabinet can deny.
No, I'm not saying you're not making it up. What I'm saying is you should have put it out and made it public, because we were all sitting out here going, how come this is such a balls up? And no one was going, yes, it is, I'm sorry. And you could have been one of those people.
Well, look, when you say what you say, systems do matter. And what we did at the time, we were putting systems together, but the problem was we were worrying and we were trusting a bureaucracy. And frankly, I never would. In this business, you ensure that you've got oversight, that you've got the kind of surveillance and the constant referral back every week. Is this happening? What's going wrong? What's going right? That's how you run things. And I'm just making it very, very clear now. But to say that I'm doing it because we are fighting for our political survival, will you stand back and watch on election day? Because your team, Mike, the National Party and the ACT Party haven't got a hope in China of making it. You know that. And everybody I see knows that. So you better be counting on you people who believe in a bit of common sense and rationality. You better be backing the party called New Zealand First, because that's the only hope and assurance you've got. Don't
you regret not going public?
Well, of course, in a way, yes. But the problem is, how can you run an organisation by breaking your confidence and breaking your agreement every day?
Because sometimes things are more important than that.
Well, let me tell you, we knew that Kiwi Bill was never going to work. We said so. We told this minister over and over again, if you can just find 20 builders, I can tell you we can do this, but you can't go down your bureaucratic path. We said that the light rail won't work in Auckland. Look at Auckland right now, paralysed everywhere. The idea of light rail costing between $10 and $15 billion is preposterous.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've said.
But people like me, Winston, have been saying this all along because it's plain common sense, and you've been mucking in with these clowns, buggering up the country, and look where we are.
Oh, come on, Mike. The reality is, look where we are. When we took over in 2017, every social expenditure...
I know. No, look, don't go down that path. I've heard it all before. Look, you owe us, you owe the public, do you not, the truth? That would be your line. And the truth was that the border closure, the self-isolation with the police not knocking on the doors, the PPE problems, the testing kit problems, the flu kit problems, the war footing problems, the quarantine problems, the lack of testing problems, you knew all about that. And at no point did you say, this is a mess.
Well, I said it in circumstances where my cabinet colleagues and the Prime Minister know.
Yeah, but it made no difference because they didn't listen to you.
Well, okay, that's happened now and again, Mike. So
not now and again. It happened the whole time. For the last 3 years, it's clearly happened.
Well, look, I've been in politics a long time, and the people who've got a tin ear who think they know what they're talking about, well, will follow some economic book they read a week ago, are really far too legion for me it's even number. But the truth is, you hope you got your experience, you hope in time, that the circumstances, and which they will do now, that circumstances fix up the situation we're dealing with. We were 5 months too late in doing most of these things, but we're doing them now.
Good.
Right?
Well,
we finally got the army in. We finally got masks in.
So as you sit here this morning...
You're reading my mail back to me.
As we sit here this morning then, do you defend what your government is now doing? The policy that you are enacting in all the different phases and facets is working and will continue to work, despite the fact that we haven't got the index case, we still know the border leaks and we don't know how.
You haven't got what case you're talking about?
Index case, the original case out of the meatworks. We don't know how it got in.
No, look, it didn't come out of America.
No, it came through the border, and you don't know how.
No, I told you guys it came through the border. I've been saying from day one.
Yeah, but you don't know how.
Yes, I do know how.
Well, how?
Through the border because we had loose systems that weren't working at our quarantine centres.
But that's what I'm saying. You still don't know how that came through, and you're now arguing that you've tightened up those loose systems, and you're arguing now that those loose systems have solved the problem, are you?
No, I'm arguing that. No, what I'm arguing now, Mike, is what I argued from the word go. That if you want to make sure systems work in anything you do, it doesn't matter whether it's sport, whether it's business, whether it's politics, you ensure that you've got the level of surveillance and oversight to guarantee that when you're asked, is it working? You can say, yes, it's working and it's safe.
Is it working?
Well, it will be now. Well, but to tell you the truth, I'd like to have been more comfortable about that as well.
So you're not even comfortable with it as you sit here this morning?
Well, we haven't got the level of military involved.
Exactly.
500 soldiers doesn't cut it. We've said, and we made an announcement about our border security policy, about our border force protection force, in the way that we need to have it. Next day, the National Party came out, and you gave it them far more coverage for the same policy, just imitating and aping us. We've got the military. We should ensure that they are our first line of defence on this matter.
Appreciate your time as always. Winston Peters, New Zealand First Leader. Just on Winston Peters, by the way, Port Tauranga, redevelopment, $20 million. This is in the Tasman, of course, the District Council-owned port. They've got a redevelopment. They're expecting a surge in the mussel production, which we talked about, ironically, yesterday on the program. Over the next decade, that production is tipped to climb from 8,000 tonnes annually to 41,000 tonnes, of which 32,000 tonnes expected to go through Port Tauranga. So the PGF has come in with a limited recourse loan of some $20 million.